When we left the college setting, we weren't just dealing with problems of how to solve a painting or a sculpture. It was problems of how do you rent a building, make sure it's safe, bring in your own supplies. How do you control a bunch of 20-year-olds? I mean, we're talking about probably 12 to 15, 20-year-olds coming in. Most of us just out of college, looking for work, looking for places to live. How do you manage that? How do you throw events without getting into trouble? How do you include your neighbors? How do you cultivate not just ceramics, which is what a lot of us were doing at the beginning, but how do you incorporate painting, sculpture, performance arts? What do performance artists need? They don't need a 24-hour studio to make something. They need a place where they can play music, maybe put on a play once every 3 months. So that's a different scenario. How do we get the landlord to trust us to do any of this? Well, none of us had that direct experience, but we figured it out. It's not really fair to say, oh, you're doing it right or wrong. I think more importantly is that as an individual, you're engaged in your community. How are you going to do that? Do you feel inspired by a group that exists already to get engaged? Then great, do it. I had a problem with that. So that kept me engaged, and it still keeps me engaged. Also, the beauty of it is that as a Firehouse artist, I'm not alone. There's 100 people looking out for me saying, hey, we're all trying to make it as artists. You want to be part of this show? I get asked to be in the Firehouse shows all the time. And it's like, I love that. And it's like, oh, I got to finish this piece in my house because it's going on the show next week. And I stay up late doing that because it's motivational. Things like that. Because Firehouse is such a large community. Firehouse has about 100 artists that rent with us on a monthly basis in 5 locations right now. There's probably another 100 people who engage with us as artists throughout the month, whether that be events or art shows or pop-ups, different ways.
About a year and a half ago, I tried to pursue my passion, and I stopped my work, structural engineering, and started painting. I love the artists working here. I learned a lot from them. They give a lot of motivations. I'm just happy.
I am a self-taught artist, and I'm kind of dabbling in a lot of different things, and these paintings evolved out of an accidental process, a series of mistakes, and they represent my feelings about a particular time in my life when I lived in Kansas. You know, I work a full-time job, so I try to come on the evenings on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and as much as I can on the weekends.
My background is architecture, but I don't practice architecture anymore. I just like to do art only. I think it is the fact that they are here that's good, because we communicate, we learn from each other. Some of the artists are really good here, and then many of them are very sweet and supportive. All of them give you a sense of being in a community. That's actually very good. I used to be in a bigger studio in West Oakland, but I was by myself. I was productive, but not necessarily very much into social connection. I like this one better.
Earlier this year, we had 7 art galleries. They're not big spaces. They're intimate. They're run by the Firehouse community, different locations. Each location is different and managed differently. The Lottie Rose House is a good example. It's run by the artists who live at the house. It's in the living room. A new show every month.
Every curated show, there are artists that step up to the plate to work with one another to bring a show together, whether that be offering artwork into the gallery or actually setting it up. We're doing things in the outside performance, which is like setting up the stage, lighting, and having a host and a person at the door.
When it comes to music, a theater, like how can I better inhabit this art form, and how can I bring it and convey that message strongly about what I'm trying to express or say in the piece, whether it be a painting or an act or music. And so I feel like in this space, I feel because we all like share that and we have that dear to our hearts, I feel like that's the reason why a lot of us feel very comfortable like knowing like where we're going as like a collective and also as people in our lives with what we want to do in art.
I think that being surrounded by people or being in intimate spaces with people puts you in positions where you need to find understanding with them, and that broadens a person's perspective in a way that you find things to create that suit the needs of people around you.
All I ever realized while listening to that magnificent poem was that stage fright is the only monster.
You get to do your project here and make it into fruition as like a test.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we know
Yeah.
that there's like, first of all, the only reason we're jealous about a painting, you were saying, or like have this angst is because we want to have meaning.
That's very true. And
we have every
Yeah.
month and we're
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we're like, you know, how can we make a dream come true?
Exactly.
And you can't do it alone.
Nope. You cannot. Yeah, you cannot do it alone.
Your own reality is say, you know what, I'm gonna feel good today in what I'm doing and what I'm creating, the day that I create, and I'm gonna feel good tomorrow. And I know exactly why, because I've pinpointed that moment of joy. I know how to get to that point, the point of inspiration and bliss, you could say. That's really important. And if everybody could practice that, that would be amazing. That would be quite a great experience for the whole community.